Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to another live stream from Wolverine Studios as we continue our Draft Day Sports Pro Basketball 2020 Dynasty. We're getting ready to head into Season 4 here, our first season with our Phoenix team. We've played the first 3 seasons with Orlando in this league before we were removed as general manager. Despite 3 successful seasons, they weren't good enough for management, so we ended up with Phoenix this year. For those of you new to the stream who haven't been here in a while, just a reminder, we're playing this in local mode, which means that I am the general manager of the team and I control the signing functions and things like that, but the coaching decisions on a day-to-day basis are left to the head coach and the coaching staff. Unless I fire him and take over myself. So as we get ready to head into this regular season, let's quickly recap what happened in the off season. We had a ton of cap space, and we spent a good deal of it on small forward Ernest Mooring. We brought him over. He was on that Orlando team, and he was the star player there. He was an all-league player for the first few years. As you can see, he's an all-star game starter, reserve, and an all-league first team, all-league second team, all-league first team. So very excited to add him to this Phoenix team. We also picked up a couple of other guys in free agency, and our draft choice, first-round pick, was Ralph Childress. The commentators felt that we reached for him at the middle of the first round, but we needed a point guard, and our staff rated him very highly. So we're hoping that he turns out to be kind of a steal later in the first round of the draft. Before we start the games, though, we always have to go and assign our scouting points. We only have 262 to work with here. As a reminder, you have to do this before the first game of the season, or else they will not be able to be assigned for the year because you send the scouts out now. We've got 12 left over. I don't think we're going to bother scouting in Europe, so we'll just spend those here, and we'll put them in the Midwest there. We can take a quick look at the draft. No stats or anything like that coming through yet. It's still too early in the season to see who the top-rated rookies next year will be, but we'll check on those a little bit later on. Our goals for the season: to make the playoffs and to keep Ayende rushing. That will be an easy one. We'll definitely be keeping him as he's our young franchise player. The budget: $109 million to spend on salaries, and right now we're at 111, so we're hardly over that. That shouldn't be too big of an issue. And making the playoffs, we'll see. I mean, this team did make the playoffs last year. Unfortunately, we are not projected to make the playoffs. If we look at the season preview, it actually puts us as third to worst in the West. So I think we can do better than that with this team, but we'll see. We'll see if we can make the playoffs. And last season they were 44 and 38. I think we can try to improve on that. And as you can see, Mooring, definitely the key addition here as we bring him in. I want to thank you guys for joining us in the room here. Feel free to drop a message in the chat box while we play along. I'll be happy to answer any questions about this or any of our other games. And if you haven't tried the game yet, make sure you go to www.wolverinestudios.com and get yourself a free demo. Check it out for yourself. There's plenty of mods available too, if you don't prefer to play in a fictional world like we're doing for our Dynasty here. But go check it out and have a good time with it. So let's get ready to start this season. We take it a couple weeks at a time during the sim, handling any issues that come up along the way. And let's see how things shake out for our Phoenix team here. So it's an exciting season. As you can see, we win there against Golden State, so we're off to a good start. it's exciting to take over a new team, a new franchise. Uh, we had a good run in Orlando, not good enough to keep the job though, and hopefully we can do something good here. Looks like a slow start there after that initial win, but we'll check it out and see what's going on as soon as the sim finishes up here. It's a loss to Detroit there, we could see, and another loss to LA. So 2-5 it looks like early on, or 2-4 rather. So let's go and check out the dashboard and see. We had a win against Golden State, a win at Denver, and 4 home losses. Wow, that's interesting that apparently we're not playing very well at home. Let's take a look at our team news here. Rushing had 28 in that loss to Los Angeles. Childress had 16. Mooring was 17. Let's go take a look at our stats early on for our first few games. It looks like we're going with Childress, Royton, Mooring, Rushing, and Baum. Kind of surprised that coaching staff's not going to start Roberto Roy, as I think he's a young player with a lot of upside. I was actually interested in drafting him with Orlando a couple of seasons back. Early on, Mooring, our free agent pickup, 26 and 7, so he's getting the job done. Rushing 20 and almost 12 a game. Excellent there. Our first round pick, Childress, definitely kind of playing above what the experts thought there. And it looks like we're getting 12 points off of the bench from Willis. Let's take a look at some of the advanced stats. Usage-wise, Childress with a lot of usage. Mooring and Rushing. I'd like to see a little bit less out of Childress, more out of Mooring and Rushing. But Childress is off to a pretty solid start. Let's see if there's anything in our emails that we need to deal with. We got a scouting update on Roland Seabrooks from Notre Dame. Not superstar potential, but could be a starter at some point. So let's check out the draft. And it looks like Seabrooks right now is the top prospect so far. It's early, but some impressive college numbers from a bunch of guys early in the season. Checking out the standings really quick. Let's go down and see. We are 2-4 at the bottom of the Pacific, but it's only 6 games in. Still lots of time to go. Let's get back and get ready for another 2 weeks sim. I know Phoenix, I chose Phoenix to take over this time. There were 6 openings, and Phoenix was the most attractive opening because they had a young player in Rushing who was, a star young player, and they had cap space. So I figured we could kind of rebuild this thing quickly. They were a playoff team, but it was just the 8th seed, so they were sort of a fringe playoff team. So I felt good that we could rebuild it quickly without having to tear everything down, especially since there wasn't a high pick involved. Let's see, looking at our results here, let's go over to the standings and see we are 6 and 7. So moving up a little bit. Let's go take a look at some of the games on an individual basis. We'll start with our victory against New York here. And New York was a team that gave Orlando a ton of trouble. So a win over them is a nice win. Rushing with 24, Mooring with 31, Childress 17, 10 turnovers though. That's not good, but 46 minutes out of the rookie. We played Roy as a starter that game, and we got a victory with that. Mooring plus 15 though. I mean, he's going to be worth the money that we paid him for sure. I know what we were getting with him. That's why I didn't target some of the other guys. We got blown out by Dallas, it looks like. 24 from Rushing, only 11 from Mooring, 13 from Childress. Let's take a look back and see. We beat Utah. Utah was projected to win the West, so that's another solid win there. We're beating teams that are capable teams. Good bench effort there. Shot 35.7% from three, rushing with 31, 12 and 7, almost a triple double for the game. So that's excellent out of him. Mooring with a decent game. Let's look back, and Miami. Miami, if you've been following along, you know I hate Miami. They seem to beat me every single time, and it's usually their guards Chiganov and Silla who do the damage, and they've done it again here. It's a 108-98 beatdown of us. Mouton 17 off the bench, but minus 20 from Baum off the bench. That's not good. Mooring minus 21. Not a very good effort there. Let's take a look around the league at some of the league insights, see how we're stacking up. 109.5 points per game, good for 17th. Our defensive rating, 112.3. So we are almost at the bottom defensively there. We are not the leader in anything, or even close. Not close to being the leader in anything like that. Points per game, we're being outscored, we're being out-assisted. Rebounds, pretty similar, but this is the big one here, 17.3 to 12.9 turnovers per game. We've got to do something about that. That's terrible. Looking at our lineup tracking. Lineup tracking is one of my favorite things to look at, and especially since we expanded it with a lot more data this year. The per 36, those are all very low-ranked lineups for minutes. Here's our rotating starting lineup. It seems they're switching between Baum and Roy at center, and both those lineups are very close to zero on the plus minus and the per 36. So they're just average lineups. Looks like we've got a decent one working here when we go with Childress Willis. When we bring Willis in for Royton, that looks like a pretty solid lineup. For lineups getting a lot of minutes, I don't see a bunch of huge negatives. These are big negatives, but it's just small minutes in those groups so far. So it looks like maybe if they give Willis a little bit more time, that might be a positive. Let's see what he's being slated to play right now. He's only slated to get 20 minutes off the bench, although he's injured at the moment. He has a sprained wrist, two sprained wrists there. He's got a sore shoulder for Willis, probably for 3 days, so he can play. Mouton is out with that sprained wrist right now. Let's go back to the Insights tab a little bit, and let's look at some of our own team things. The efficiency versus usage. There's Mooring, and you can see the big circle with the big usage rating and a good true shooting percentage. Childress, high on the usage end, but not very good. As you can see, there's 5 players maybe that are more efficient shooting than he is, and there's Roy and Willis, and of course rushing there. So I'd like to see Childress either move back here and these guys up a little bit in usage, or Childress cut down those turnovers and shoot the ball a little bit better, and he'd be a little bit more valuable. But he is just a rookie. So it's not too much to panic about right now. Let's get ready to move along to the end of November here, as long as there's nothing to deal with in terms of team emails. One thing too, as we go along these streams, and we're trying to record them too for future watching. For anybody who can't catch them live, make sure you feel free to drop in the chat or in comments later on anything that you would like to see in the games, something that might work better for you, or suggestions that you want to see happen. That's how we really improve the games over time. We take feedback from the players and make the game better. It's not just our design. We had a team incident, uh, so we're going to check that out. And we have a scouting update on Eddie Gordon, just possibly a starter. Nothing great there. So rumor has it Ron Mouton and Mike Smith are arguing, but we're going to have to keep an eye on the situation. Both players' attitudes have dropped. But let's check out Mouton and Smith. Both of their moves, as you can see, has moved down to average overall. Smith, I'm not even sure. Well, he's playing this season. He wasn't playing last year. Mouton, so they're both part of the rotation. Sometimes, you could take a guy and send him down to the D League or cut him just to get him out of the way, but they're both part of the rotation. So I guess for now we'll just kind of sit on it and see what happens. Although Smith really isn't doing a ton with his minutes, 4.4 points. I don't know, it may be worth assigning him to the D League for the time being. We have other players who can step in and take those minutes, although he is our only small forward other than Mooring on the roster. Maybe when we get Royton back healthy, we can look at doing that. I don't want to shorten us up too much right now. I saw that our record is 8-9, so we're pulling closer to 500. An overtime win against Washington, win against Indiana, a loss against Orlando. That one hurts. That one hurts as Orlando. And this Overton drops 42 on me. Thanks a lot for that, John Overton. It's a lot of gratitude for the years I was there with Orlando. Dropped 42 on me here. Mooring with 29 in a revenge game, but not enough to win. Rushing with 7 points. Thompson is an excellent young player, 19 and 13, and he really held rushing down this game. Second chance points, 6 to 22 there. That's a recipe for disaster. Got to do a much better job rebounding the ball. 34 rebounds to 51. So that's between rebounds and turnovers, it seems like we keep finding ways to lose games, just with things like that. Let's finish up the rest of the month, as long as there's no more incidents to take care of. There's a win over Sacramento that pulls us back to 500, and a loss to Golden State, which puts us back under 500. So it looks like, I think they were 44 and 38, it said last season. So it looks like it'll be probably in that range of a record for this year. I don't think we've made enough improvements to wildly surpass last season. I can see Ralph Childress has been named the Rookie of the Month. So that's pretty awesome for somebody that the experts really were down on for our pick there. I'm pretty excited to see Childress play so well so far. Let's look at the league leaders, and I want to look at the rookies and see how he's stacking up. He is leading the league in points per game for rookies. He is leading the league in assists per game for rookies. He's up there in steals too, so I'm very happy with how he's starting out so far as our first round pick. You can see we drafted him 17th overall. Shooting wise, he seems to be shooting a lot better from the right side than the left for some reason. Average in the middle at the top of the key. So I'd like to see that get better over time. But I like this as it's always an easy way to see how effective the players are. Our initial coach ratings, nobody's really that high on him, but I think he's playing better than what's expected. Let's see if there's anything going on in the news that is worthwhile. See if there's any trade rumors coming up, anything like that. Pat Samuel is not happy with his playing time in Milwaukee. Let's see, and he is averaging, he's averaging 30.7 points per game. So I guess, wow, that is a huge, huge contract too. I guess I don't know how many minutes he wants, but I guess they're not giving him enough, or possibly not winning. Sometimes in the games, as players, Milwaukee's 10-10. Sometimes with the better players in the game, if the team is losing, they'll lash out at the team or things like that with anything they can find. That they think they should be playing 48 minutes and taking every shot. So sometimes things like that will come up with the players in the game just because they're losing and they're unhappy with how the whole situation's going. Let's look at our conference thing. So we are just outside the playoff hunt right now, but only half a game back, so nothing to worry about right now. Everything's moving along pretty good for us. Let's go in another couple weeks. For those of you guys watching on the stream, thank you for stopping by this evening. Feel free to throw any questions or comments or anything you want to know about the game in the chat box. I like to chat and interact with you guys while this is going on, especially when there's we're doing the simming part and it takes a minute to get through a week or two. I want to stop on action emails. This sim will take us into the middle of December. Oh, and we must have an email to deal with. Oh, let's see, we got scouting update on Solomon Martin. He's a fringe guy, so he might be a guy we look at later in the draft next year. Maurice Willis is on a tear. I'm going to offer him some praise and keep his attitude up because he's been important to us. Let's just see how well he has been playing as of late for us. Take a look at the game logs. 14 points, 11 points. So 15-26 off the bench there against Sacramento. That was a big game for him. He had 26 earlier too in the year against San Antonio. So those are nice numbers coming off the bench from Willis. And one thing that I'll make a comment on this that we see sometimes is people complain that they only see 2-star players or 2.5-star players. A lot of those guys in the league. The rating system is meant to make a 5-star player or 4.5-star player truly a unique player. So a guy like Rushing is a superstar. A 2-star player is a player who can play in the league. He's got a role. He's a role player. So some people say 2-star player and they think, oh, he's terrible. He's no good. Those guys are rated appropriately to be role players in the league, and that's what a 2-star player would be, just a role player. Even Childress and Royton at 2.5 stars. Childress is just starting out as a rookie, 2.5 stars. I mean, 2.5, 3 stars is just your average starter in the league. So don't look at 2-star guys and say, oh, there's these guys are all terrible. It just means that they're just role players in the league. It doesn't mean that they're not rosterable players. So let's go back to this sim and see if we can get to the middle of December without any further incidents. Thankfully, we've been pretty lucky to avoid anything major injury-wise so far, especially with Mooring and Rushing. Those are the guys we got to make sure stay healthy, as we really rely on those two for everything. We must have another emails. Oh, okay, we got a bunch of emails here. Not much there on Wingfield. Not much there on Cooper. Comment on Rushing. And a comment on Royton. Let's offer praise for rushing. And Royton, we're going to no comment. And he's not happy about that. Let's take a look at our dashboard and see how our last few games have been going. And we have been on a 3-game winning streak here. With rushing, there's Mooring with 35 rushing at 24 and 14. 14 for Williams off the bench, 11 for Willis off the bench. So there you go, much better second chance points there. And our turnovers, 16 to 21, so we won turnovers that game. So we had a back-to-back against Portland with wins in both of them. Rushing with 27 and 14 again. Again, nice effort. In fact, tremendous effort off the bench. Mouton was a plus 21. Baum was a plus 29. Willis plus 25. That's fantastic effort off the bench there. As rushing one player of the game that game, and prior to that we had a win over Portland as well. This one looks like more of the starters getting the job done. Mooring, there's Roy, 18 and 9. I'd like to see him. I like to see the 33 minutes there, giving him some more consistent time, because I think he's got some excellent potential. Yeah, I mean 3.5 star potential. So he could be an excellent player. I hope he continues to develop. He would give us a really nice front court with rushing and Mooring. We'll save it real quick and get back to the simming. Actually, I want to see the insights, see if we've moved up at all here. Still negative net rating. Our defense is getting a little bit better, but the offense seems to be improving more as well. That's positive, but look at we're at the bottom of so many of these other things. So this team's going to take some work to bring it ahead. Probably a draft pick next year, a decent lottery pick, is probably what this team is going to need. Since we were so close to the halfway point, we'll see if we can sim through the rest of the month here without any further incidents. Being my first season with the team here, the ownership probably won't fire me after one season if all the goals aren't met, because we're close on the salary. We didn't spend much more than the cap, and we'll definitely keep Ayinde rushing. And there goes Roberto Roy with an injury. Hopefully it's not serious. But even if we miss the playoffs, I think we'll be okay. Although I haven't seen anything in the emails about any players that are, the scouting department is really excited about. So either the scouting department isn't very good with this team right now, which we didn't have a lot of scouting points. You'll notice with some teams you'll have higher scouting points than others. That's kind of based on the ratings from the coaches and things like that, as well as the ownership's willingness to spend. So we don't have a lot of scouting points. So those scouting reports may not be worth a ton in the emails, but anything that could help. That's how we found Childress. In the draft, the coaching staff rated him very highly, and even though the overall WSSN ratings were not that high for him. We can look at our team info too and see that our owner has pretty high patience, just average desire to win, and not a lot of willingness to spend. And this team has been a losing team throughout the dynasty here, with their first playoff appearance last season. So I think it's a spot that will give us some time to rebuild if we need to. Let's see if we have any emails. Oh, just more scouting updates. Nick White from Duke, they're okay. Let's see some of these guys. If anybody's moving up here, there's Nick White. Seabrooks. Remember, we had an email from him on him earlier in the year. So looks like they're, I mean, numbers-wise, they're solid numbers, but I guess we'll see how it works out. Let's go over to the standings and see where we're at. We are 2 games out of the playoffs, 17 and 18, so we're just struggling to hang on around that 500 mark. Stats-wise, let's see, Baum is, he's out for 2 weeks with a strained abdominal. Smith out for 2 days. Points-wise, Mooring, 22.9. Rushing, only 17. He's kind of taken a step back, I guess, with Mooring getting a lot of the usage. Obviously Mooring wasn't here. Childress still taking a lot of the usage as well, I think. Yeah, in fact, he's still taking the most usage here. I mean, it's somewhat to be expected from a point guard, but the net, I mean, we really got to focus on, the coaching staff's really got to focus more on rushing. He's got to play as many minutes as possible, I think, because we're just terrible when he leaves the floor. I mean, minus 15.5 when he leaves the floor. So we've got to make sure he's getting a full complement of minutes, because things seem to go south in a hurry. He's scheduled for 38 a game. And let's see, how many is he getting? He's only getting 27.8 per game. The staff seems to, I don't know if it's foul. Well, it could be foul trouble. He averages almost 4 fouls a game, so that's probably part of the issue. His discipline rating is very low, so that's probably a big reason why he's not getting as many minutes as he really should be. Let's take a look at some of his game logs. There's 5 fouls, 5, 4, 6, 4, 6, 6. I mean, he's constantly in foul trouble. And you can see that, I mean, he played 22, 22, 29, 22, 23 minutes. He must have had an injury here, or he's trying to play through. But yeah, we got to do something about his foul situation. Let's go back and sim a few more games as we move into January here. See if we can get past 500 and get ourselves a little bit closer to that last playoff spot. One thing about rushing, now that I see that he's struggling with fouls, and he's a young player, but he's been in, he's not a rookie anymore, so there's probably not a lot more development to go there. He's probably fairly close to his ceiling, so his IQ sort of bothers me there, that if he's going to be constantly, or his discipline rather, if he's going to be constantly in foul trouble, he may not be as valuable as his ratings suggest. If that's the case, we may have to look at trying to trade him, and I bet we could get something really good for him by some other team that might not care as much about his foul issues. So that's something to keep in mind, that we might have to trade him at some point. And because he is such a young player, I bet we can get something pretty good for him. Let's take a look at our last couple of games here. We had a nice streak going there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 wins before back-to-back losses against Sacramento, and that was a blowout. That was a complete blowout there. Scoring leaders, Mooring rushing. Surprised to see Childress drop off there, but Willis with 12.4 off the bench is our third highest scorer. We really need a third option, a consistent third option here. That's another nice win over Utah. Rushing stayed in the game that time, 36 minutes, and only one foul. And now that I kind of look more into his situation, I wonder how many times, if we have a loss, there's only 21 minutes and 5 fouls there in a blowout, and just see exactly how his minutes are correlating to our losses. 35 minutes, but 4 fouls there. Childress had 23. Not a good game out of Rushing or Mooring. Okay games, but not what they're truly capable of. So it seems like if Mooring had some foul issues this game, only scoring 4 points, but Royton stepped up. Childress with a decent game, and Rushing 5 fouls, but he got 36 minutes in, so that's pretty solid. Let's go check out some of the league insights. Still negative net rating. Our defense is slipping a little bit. There's Orlando. That was something I worked on in Orlando, building up the defense, and you can see they're the best defense in the league now. So we'll get there with Phoenix. I always try to focus on bringing in solid defensive players. We've got 42 games under the belt, so our lineup tracking information is a little bit more useful at this point. These are all positive lineups. This one is not. And it's seeing a decent amount of minutes. This is a terrible lineup with Mike Williams in here at center for some reason. They should really just be giving the minutes to Baum and Roy. These other lineups, pretty decent. This one, again with Mike Williams in the lineup, is a negative. Looking else, there's another one with him as a negative, another one with him as a negative. So let's take a look at see what's going on with Mike Williams now that he's injured. Let's see. 3 for stealing, low discipline. He has decent defensive ability, so it's interesting that the lineups are so bad with him on the floor, but his rebounding is terrible, and he's also only 6'8", so I'm not sure why he's getting minutes at the center spot. What kind of small ball lineup he's playing, especially when we have Jackson. I guess we'll have to wait to see once he gets healthy, see what they're doing with him. But we should be playing Jackson instead, because I don't think he's played at all. And I mean, he's a good defender, just an average rebounder though. Well, let's keep on moving on here as we'll go to the end of the month. The trade deadline is always early February, so that's when a lot of the action will happen. So we'll sim up to the beginning of February there and kind of evaluate to see where we're at. I don't know if I foresee making any big trades at this point. I think it's really year one of this build here, so I'm happy with Mooring, even though he's he's a veteran, he's late in his career. I think if we can put something together quickly in a year or two, we can have a couple of really productive years out of him still to go. And the rest of it, we just need the young guys to develop a little bit, and that's going to take some time. Mouton has suffered another injury. He's been injured a couple of times this season. That's always something I like to watch too. Do we have players who are injury prone and not very reliable? We have hit February, so we'll do a quick save here and see what kind of news we have going on here. Tate Johnson, solid overall. not superstar potential. Ralph Childress looks like he takes home another Rookie of the Month award for January, so I'm happy about his development. So far this his rookie year. Let's look at our standings. Where's Orlando? I'd like to just keep tabs on them. We have moved into 6th place in the West, 28 and 22, 6 and 4 in our last 10. So we are moving in the right direction here. Let's take a look at our dashboard and see just what's been going on. Wins over Houston, Oklahoma City, Minnesota, Portland again, Brooklyn, and Denver. All that's a pretty solid run there. And we had a nice run at the beginning of January. Only 4 losses in the month of January. So that's excellent for us. Childress, looks like we've got an injury situation there. Sore knee. He's only going to be a 2-day sprained wrist for Mouton. Sore foot for Mooring. Probable, so he could play through that if the staff wants him to. Let's take a look at our staff, making sure that let's see, we only have we can't spend any more on the training staff budget. The higher you can see that the more you spend, the better your training staff is, and players can avoid injury or heal faster. But we're spending a lot of money on our assistant coaches here, especially Eddie Campbell, $1.6 million. Everybody's in their final year of their contract too, so we may not be bringing him back. We might promote these guys from within and look for another guy so we can spend more on staff next year. We'll also see about Meyer here as he's finishing up his last year, but he's excellent in evaluating offense, defense, strategy, and developing players. So I'd like to keep him around. He's had an okay record. Maybe just the first 2 seasons they didn't have much talent to play with or something. Now let's check out the media, see if there's any disgruntled players around the league. We need to check out the league news for that. Trade rumors about Terry Richardson, point guard from Oklahoma City, not doing a whole lot. Let's check out his stats here. He's in his 4th year, not getting very much of an opportunity. I wonder why his minutes dropped so much after he had a nice. Well, it was only 15 games though at the end of that year. So I wonder what they're asking for him. If we could pick him up to be a backup or something. Let's take a look. We'll go into the trade screen and we'll pull up OKC. $4.4 million. So we've got guys who we can trade to match that. Mike Williams is a player that they might have some interest in. It'd be nice if we could get maybe a center back in the deal, or maybe that'll force them to play Jackson a little bit. Let's see. They're also looking to trade Alex Strom. They're looking to trade all their. Well, I guess they're not looking to trade Richardson. That's just a rumor that he's unhappy. But Strom is on the trade block. Let's see. They are ranked 9th in the conference, so they would not be a playoff team. If I throw in their 2nd round pick, it's a cap legal deal. Let's see. This is a tough decision to make. Richardson, 2.5-star player. Let's look at the contract. Williams is in the final year of his contract, as is Richardson. I wonder if there's somebody. There's nobody I'd really want to get rid of on a Willis is a solid player for us, and everybody else is going to be out of here contract-wise next year. It'd be nice if we could get a power forward or something or Whitehead, 6'11", 281. Is he getting any minutes? We can always check that out. He's playing 10 minutes a game. If we throw him in the deal, we've got to throw some salary back at him. Let's see, Hendricks. We could throw Jackson in because he's not getting a lot of playing time, and it would be salary legal. He's not getting any playing time. It's 5.5 minutes per game. Let's see if they'll go for this. Nope, they want more. Let's see if we take out the second round pick. Nope, they don't want Ivan Jackson. Alright, let's see if we get rid of Jackson and we get rid of Whitehead, what happens? Okay, so they'll take that. That is, I think that's a good pickup for us. We'll go over here to our roster, and especially with Childress out for a couple more games. We look at Richardson here, a very smart point guard. I think he'll fit in well here. Royton's been playing well. Childress is playing well. We can give Richardson some of these backup minutes though. And Williams was in all of our poor defensive lineups, so maybe addition by subtraction there. I think we'll have to look at making possibly another move though to bring in another big man somehow. But we'll let's see. We got 2 days, 4 days, and 5 days. So I'd like to see what our lineup looks like just before the trade deadline there. So we'll sim to right before the trade deadline and see what our lineup looks like, and see if we can make another move. Plus, we can kind of check out the trade block and see if there's anybody who's disgruntled or something like that we could bring in and maybe help us make a playoff run. We have an alert today, the trade deadline 2 days away. Let's take a look at our dashboard and see how the last couple of games have gone. And it looks like we had a win, 1-1 in those games. Let's check out our game against Memphis. And Richardson, our new acquisition there, with 13 off the bench in that win. Mooring with 32. And obviously we had a loss, it looks like, to Cleveland. And Richardson had 20 in that game. So that, so far, an excellent pickup for us, despite a split there. This lineup hopefully is forcing them to use Baum and Roy more, too, as our centers there. Let's look at our overall roster. We have 3 point guards. So we got 5 guards up with us, as these guys are D-League guys, and 7 front court players. So I think that's a fairly balanced roster. I think we're pretty good with that. I don't think we need to make any additional moves. Let's look at Richardson's contract. Is he able to be extended? No, but we'll have bird rights with him next year in free agency. So that'll be helpful. I think that we could be very surprised at that pickup. I don't think we need to make any more moves here before the deadline. I think we're pretty well set there. So I think we can sim past the trade deadline. And let's see, a couple of deals there, a couple more deals right at the deadline. So not a really active deadline. Rushing has suffered an injury. Let's stop and see how bad that is. Let's go to our dashboard. A strained knee, out 10 days. That is a rough blow for us in the midst of our playoff hopes here. We beat New York again. I'm surprised that we seem to do well against New York. This time we had Mooring with 31. Nice job by the bench. And the bench, excellent in this game. And then a very solid performance across the board there. Let's look at the standings and see where we're at. I noticed that we were up to 30 and 24. That's good still for 6th. A little bit of breathing room over Golden State there, but it's still close. It's going to be a close run to the playoffs here, especially without rushing for a couple days. While we sim again, I want to thank you guys for taking some time to stop by and catch part of our stream tonight. If you have any questions, anything you want to see, you want me to take a look at any of the pages, feel free to throw them in the chat box. If you have any questions about this or any of our other games, happy to answer those. If you haven't tried our games, make sure you go to www.wolverinestudios.com and hit that box in the upper right corner for a free demo. And you can download that and play a free 7-day demo of any of our games and get a feel for them, and then hopefully go back and hit the web store and purchase a copy for yourself. We are simming here through the month of February as we make a run to the playoffs here, hopefully with Phoenix in our 4th season of our Draft Day Sports Pro Basketball 2020 Dynasty. This has been a new thing for us. We just started doing this month. I hope that it's something you guys enjoy, and we're looking at ways to expand what we do on Twitch and YouTube. And if you have other suggestions, if you want to see some of the other games, or if you're interested in running a dynasty for one of the other games, let us know. We'd love to see more people getting involved on Twitch, especially with our games. We have a scouting report on Hewitt Wingfield, not terribly impressed, and Ralph Childress again, back-to-back months now as Rookie of the Month. So it looks like we might have a Rookie of the Year candidate on our hands here. We'll do a quick save as we get ready to head into March. We are 33 and 27. Looks like a very uneven patch here. Win to loss, win, loss, win. We have rushing back though, so that's good news. That was a big win over Houston. Let's check that one out. Rushing, 5 fouls, 4 points, 11 minutes. But Hendricks and Richardson, we almost threw Hendricks in that one trade. Richardson, he's been really good the times I've seen him. Let's check out his game log since coming over. This is where he was not getting any minutes at all there for Oklahoma City. He comes over here, 20, 13, 10, 11, 7, 12, 17. He's doing a really nice job for us here. I love to see a lot of green here. That's fantastic. I like to see that. It looks like he spends most of his time either shooting threes or getting to the rim for a layup. That's what you want to see. Let's see if our insights, have we moved up anywhere. Almost positive. We're almost back down to even there on the net rating. Hopefully we can turn that positive soon. So our defense is improving a little bit. Our points per game seem to be staying pretty similar. Let's see, efficiency versus usage. There's mooring, and so it's good. Mooring's gotten more of the usage, and Childress has taken a little bit less. Bohm, a lot of usage, not a lot of efficiency. There's Richardson already making an impact. It's kind of fun too to see the salary versus the per. Obviously, Mooring, huge salary. Rushing, huge salary. You like to see guys who are on this end of the per with low salary here like Richardson or Jackson, Willis, Royton there. Wonder if Jackson's been getting more playing time since we made that other trade. Looks like his overall minutes have gone up a little bit. Yeah, he's had a couple of decent. I mean, look, when he gets playing time, 10 points, 10 rebounds, 6 and 5 with a block. So when he gets playing time, he seems to be able to make an impact. Let's go to the standings and see where we're at the moment. We've moved up to 5th. Probably not a real good chance of catching Houston. With only, well, there are still some time to go, but we're definitely closer to falling out than we are to moving up. And we've had 2 wins over Utah at least during this year. So if we get in the playoffs, I'm pretty confident we can at least hang in there and do some, make some noise. Let's go with the next 2 weeks of Sims and hope we stay healthy. That's all we need to do. We need to stay healthy and play just a little bit better than 500, I think. And I think we can make the playoffs. And if we make the playoffs, we'll definitely hit all of our goals, other than slightly being over for the salary. But that, slightly isn't a problem. It's when we blow through the suggested salary spend, like I did in Orlando. That's when you get the big problems coming in. But even then, doing it for Orlando gave me 3 years of way overspending what they were looking for. We have something to deal with here. Some scouting updates. Not terribly impressed on Stokes. Ike Milliford from St. Peter's. Comment on Ernest Mooring. We'll praise him. We want to keep him happy. Got to keep our star player happy. Standings. We are 37 and 28, gaining a little bit of ground on Houston there. 6 and 4 in our last 10. A little bit of breathing room over New Orleans. Golden State's fallen back. Let's take a look at our stats. See how things are moving along here. Let's check out Richardson, how he's been doing in his last couple games. Solid games off the bench. 19, 10, 10. So I think everything looks like it's going pretty well here. Let's move ahead. We'll schedule it to go to April. So the final stretch of the regular season here, as we push into April, hopefully pick up some wins. If we can get past Houston and get that 4th seed, we'll get ourselves a home playoff series against Houston. And the last time we played them, we had a nice big win there. So I'm good with playing Houston if we can. Looks like we've got something else to deal with now. Scouting update on Desmond Pack. Comment on Ron Mouton. And Ernest Murray has been bad lately. Let's encourage him and prop him up. And let's downplay Mouton. I was hoping that would encourage him to stay hungry on the floor there, but obviously he was looking for some praise. Higgins has a sprained ankle. Let's just see what Mouton has been doing these last few games. Nothing really that outstanding. Let's see if Mooring has been struggling like they suggested. Oh, that was a bad game. That wasn't a great one either, but other than that, he's been pretty solid too, so I'm not too worried about him. Standings. Orlando, just outside the playoffs. You hate to see it. Guess they should have kept me around. We've been dropping a little bit here. 6-4, loses of our last two, but still a 3.5 lead on Denver. All right, let's see if we can finish up March here. Starting to get a little nervous. So we were playing really well there and moving up the standings, and maybe got a little ahead of ourselves. I would like to see. I hate having teams that kind of flounder in that almost playoff range, because you hate to make a deal and blow things up when you can make the playoffs, but you don't really want to miss the playoffs as the first team that missed the playoffs and have the worst lottery odds. So if I'm gonna miss, I'd rather just miss big and have a decent draft pick. All right, so we've hit April, so quick save here. We are 42-34, as I can see from our game coming up down there. Let's see where that puts us in the standings. Second in the division, and back to fifth. Oklahoma City's made a huge push. They were 9th when we made that deal with them. So I guess that deal has helped them as well. Let's see, we've got 4-game lead over New Orleans. I think that's pretty safe here. We've played 76 games, so we've got 6 to go. So we should be in the playoffs. It would take a huge meltdown for us to drop out. And there's another win over Houston. We seem to have Houston's number. 26 for rushing, 20 for Mooring, 21 for Baum. So if we do end up with Houston, I would not be upset with that at all. We seem to do pretty well against them. I don't think they won't catch Sacramento. We just got to hold off Oklahoma City and Memphis so that we can stay in here. We're not gonna, with only 6 to go, we're not gonna jump them in the standings for 4th. So we will be on the road as a playoff team. But I'd rather play Houston than fall back and have to play Sacramento. So these are some big games here down the stretch. And it is a 108-105 loss there to Chicago. And a 117-114 victory over San Antonio. Let's see, Oklahoma City also won. So what does that do standings-wise. We're a game ahead of Oklahoma City. Game ahead of Oklahoma City. We will make the playoffs, but it's all coming down to this against Oklahoma City to hang on to that position. I don't think either one of us played that day. We've got Minnesota today. Oklahoma's got Portland, who's terrible. And we lose to Minnesota while they beat Portland. So that, let's see if that puts them ahead of us with a tiebreaker. Yep, they have moved ahead of us. So we've got to have a better record in the final couple games here. Who do we have left on the schedule? We've got Oklahoma City. That is possibly the game to decide it there. Dallas and Golden State. Oklahoma City has Denver and Portland, so two non-playoff teams for them. And let's see, what's Denver or Dallas's record? Dallas is the leading team in the Southwest, so we've got a tougher road here than OKC does. So this is a big game right here. Big game for playoff positioning. And 144-138 victory. That's a huge win for us. In overtime, Richardson was only 6 against his old team, so no revenge game. Williams didn't play. No revenge game on either side. But Childress, possible Rookie of the Year candidate, 25 points, Mooring with 30, rushing with 14. So that is big for us. Let's see. I don't think either one of us play again today. We just gotta. Well, Dallas is going to be a tough game for us. Oklahoma City has Denver. And Oklahoma City beats Denver, and we get beaten by Dallas. So we are tied again in the standings. This time looks like it has us ahead with the tiebreaker. So we need to win our last game to draw Houston, it looks like. And we have Golden State. We started the year with them. We finished the year with them. They've got Portland. They'll probably beat Portland. And we lose to Golden State. Ooh, that is a rough way to end the season, but looks like Oklahoma City loses by 2 to a terrible Portland team, and it gives us the 5th seed. So we have a 5th seed against Houston, and we've done well against Houston and Utah, so this is a fortunate draw for us. Much better than being in the 6th spot, where we would have had Sacramento and then Dallas to go through. Orlando makes the playoffs and plays New York, the team that knocked me out as Orlando last year. Let's make sure we don't have any injuries going in here. We do. Roy, sore back. He could play in the playoffs. Matchup against Houston. Slightly better points per game than they are. Assists pretty close. Rebounds pretty close. It's pretty evenly matched, but I like our chances. I do like our chances in this series. Let's go to the options for a quick second here and turn it on so it's that way we can see our scores a little bit better as we go through here. Looks like New York got the first game against Orlando. Oh no, Orlando was an upset in the first game. All right, here we go. Game 1 of the playoffs. Phoenix at Houston. And it's a 107-93 Game 1 upset. Let's take a look at the box score. Rushing 6 fouls in 20 minutes. We may have to address this in the off season. But for right now, we got Mooring with 24. Our starter is excellent in plus minus, all 15 or higher. So our starters did a tremendous job there. Nothing really of note on the other side from Houston. So Mooring comes through for us in Game 1. Let's see what happens in Game 2. 115-119 loss. Rushing 36 and 17, 5 steals. Looks like they shut down Mooring. Mooring did not play, so Mooring must... Oh, Mooring is injured with a concussion. That is rough because he is out with that. He cannot play through the concussion. He'll be back on 4/22. That is a terrible blow to us. Oof. That means he is going to miss most of this series. Oh, that is heartbreaking for us to have a chance to win this series and to lose Mooring. I don't think that is something we're going to be able to overcome, to be honest. We'll try, but I don't see it happening. Let's see what happens in Game 3. 135-128 loss as we lose the home court now. Back to Houston. Maurice Williams with an injury. And we are down 2-1 in the series now without our star player. Let's see what happens in Game 4. 108-83. This is just about over with now, as the loss of Mooring is just going to be too much to overcome. And that sucks because we had a chance here to do something as Orlando beats New York there. I thought we had a chance to make a run here because we matched up well against Houston and against Utah. I think Mooring is still... Wow, everybody's out now. We've got a lot of injuries here. Willis out 11 days. Royton is sore knee. And Mooring still out with a concussion. So this would be a heroic effort on the road to keep the season alive. And it doesn't happen. 119-124. We are defeated in round 1 by Houston. Not surprising given that we had so many injuries there. But we did make the playoffs, so we met our goals, so at least that'll be positive coming back into next season. Let's send ahead and see who takes it all home this year. Sacramento, Dallas in a tough matchup there. Looks like Dallas gets through to play New Orleans. New Orleans upsets Utah early on. I knew Utah was right, and that they could go down, and that could have been us. Obviously, they got past Utah and Houston, and New York again in the championship game against Dallas. Can New York make it back to back? And it looks like New York with Jesse Carson, back-to-back champions. So another great season for New York. They've really become a juggernaut in the league here. That was a tough way for us to go out in this season, though. I really felt we had a chance in the playoffs there. Just injuries, sometimes tough luck with those injuries. But a strong first season there for us with Phoenix, and that's where we're going to leave it tonight. We will start with the lottery. Our next stream always on Tuesday nights, 7:30 Eastern Time. So I hope you'll be there to join us right here on our Twitch channel. And thank you for joining us tonight. Have a great weekend.